Hey guys, Kakarot197 again. This time with a review of the 144th scale high-grade Geminass Unit 2 from the G-Unit manga series. And as you can tell by the Dragon Momoko logo on the box, this is not a Bandai model kit. So what's the quality like, I hear you ask? Well, for a third-party kit, I'd say it's pretty good. In some places, mostly the front, the seam lines are hidden really well, but in other places they can be a bit painful and even have a slightly rounded edge, making them even worse. Fortunately, these are mostly on the back. Detailing, on the other hand, is extremely good. It's sharp and adds a lot of flair to the model kit. The weapons are unfortunately a bit more inconsistent in quality, almost as if there was a different method of procuring these. More on that later. Still, for a third-party kit, I am very pleased with how it looks straight out of the box. And if you go with the color scheme that's on the box, you don't even have to paint, just apply some stickers. We get the usual eye stickers, we get a metallic green one for the front camera, one for the back camera, and one for the sensor on the chest, 2 yellow ones for the vents on the ears, and 2 black ones for the thrusters on the shoulders. And we also get a bunch of leftover stickers. This is because this sticker sheet is repurposed from the Geminass Unit 1 that came with the Space Unit. One really cool thing is that we don't just get the normal eye stickers, but we also get the eyes as separate stickers. So if you want, you can just paint the whole area black and then apply the eye stickers for a really cool effect. But then on the flip side, if you want to go with the official color scheme of the Geminass, you will have to do some painting. The chin piece and around the eyes has to be painted red, the top of the torso yellow, and the top gray pieces on the knees will have to be painted yellow as well. So still not a big paint job, and to be honest, I kind of prefer this color scheme. Next up, let's have a look at the accessories of this thing. Starting off with what's already on the machine, the 2 beam sabers on the back. And one thing to note about these is that they can be a bit tricky to put on there when the backpack is on the mobile suit, because as you can see, there is kind of an indentation there that can make it a bit tricky. Removing them in general is not too big of an issue, although it can be slightly difficult too. And not only do we get 2 really nice long pink beam effect parts for them, we also get 2 shorter ones. Then the next accessory that we're getting is this beam rifle that probably looks very familiar for people who've seen 0083. This is not the beam rifle you would expect with the Geminass, and unfortunately we do not get the accelerate rifle that you should get with the Geminass. But on the flip side, it is a really cool weapon. It's not just 2 halves slapped together, there again is some engineering on here, so you don't get seam lines galore. We also have a bit of movement, the handle will go both ways, same as for the scope. One thing about the scope though is the little piece on the inside there does sometimes fall out, but of course not on the video when I'm trying to make the point, but that is the one part that you're probably gonna need glue for. It also comes with its own dedicated holding hand, which does a great job at holding it, again allowing for some really cool poses. But there is more than meets the eye when it comes to this beam rifle. We get a few extra parts, so you can also transform it into a machine gun or beam rifle with an underslung grenade launcher. If you want to, you can remove the underslung grenade launcher, but you will see that there is a kind of unsightly peg there, but not too bad. The same happens, by the way, when you remove the magazine. You do have some pegs which the magazine would connect to, but again, it's not too bad looking, and it is a really cool feature. And of course, just as with the beam rifle before it, it fits into the hand absolutely perfectly. But that's not the end of it. You can also turn it into this big-ass cannon. And believe it or not, the Geminass has absolutely no problems holding on to this thing. And even though he has a slightly harder time holding onto it now due to the forward bulk, it still shouldn't be too much of a problem for posing. Especially not if you're going with the 2-handed route. It's such a cool weapon, it almost makes you wonder why Bandai didn't make something like this. Oh wait, they did. Yeah, to end this part of the review on a bit of a downer, the beam rifle is just a straight up copy of System Weapon 3. And those are all of the accessories that we're getting. So one question that you might have now is, how do I get those accessories that the Geminass should come with? Well, there are two ways. The first option is very simple. You buy the other Dragon Momoko Geminass unit, and that one does come with all of the accessories that you would expect the Geminass to come with. The problem then, of course, is that you have another Geminass unit with lacking accessories. The second option is to use the old Bandai Geminass kit. Believe it or not, everything actually fits perfectly on the Dragon Momoko, and other than the beam rifle, which looks a bit too small, it also looks really good on it. And the beam rifle being a bit too small might be explained by the fact that the Bandai version is slightly smaller. Although, if you were wondering, the Bandai version is the correct size. Also, you get this really cool marking sticker sheet with the official Bandai kit that you can now use for your Dragon Momoko version. And finally, let's have a look at the articulation of this thing. The head is on a double ball joint, so it goes up nicely, down nicely, forwards and backwards movement, rotates around all the way, wiggles around, and does everything a ball joint does. The shoulders are on a really cool ball joint and hinge combo, so go forwards really far, backwards a little bit, will also go up on that ball joint, and then of course the shoulder itself will move up nicely like that. It will also rotate around all the way, then it rotates around below the shoulder, bends on the elbow at two joints, though you have to be a bit careful to bend it correctly because otherwise things might get a little bit in the way of each other. Also, one thing that you can do is you can bend it slightly more, but then basically the joint is disconnecting, so you can only do that so much. So let's push that back in, there we go. Then the hands are on ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. The waist will rotate around all the way. Then the skirt armor is a pretty mixed bag. The front skirts are molded together and cannot be separated unless you modify them. The legs go forwards really far. Then the back skirt is itself on a ball joint, which is pretty amazing. This is something not even a lot of Bandai kits do. So the legs also go backwards pretty damn far. Then the side skirts are also on ball joints and the legs go out really far again. So there is some really good articulation there. It will also rotate around all the way, then bend at the knee at two joints, although you're not really getting a whole lot out of those two joints. It would have been nice if that was a bigger bend because the legs themselves are rather basic. Then something really baffling, the ankle guard is molded together with the legs, just like the old 90s Gundam wing models. It almost makes you wonder if the guys who made this just looked at the old Bandai model, saw that it was molded together, and just figured, oh, I guess it's just supposed to be like that. But fortunately, that does not affect the articulation of the foot too much. It's on a ball joint and hinge combo, goes forwards a little bit, backwards nicely, will rotate around and go side to side. And I almost forgot to talk about this really cool extra hip joint. And while we're under here, we might as well also have a look at the action base connector. It is compatible with all official Bandai action bases that have a peg connector. So overall, the articulation is an extremely mixed bag. It really goes from amazing articulation like in the shoulders or the back skirt to pretty meh articulation like in the knees, and then completely immobile ankle guards. But what matters the most is that he can pull off some amazing poses with that articulation. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And since this video was recorded 3 months ago, I've had to record a whole new conclusion. When this thing came out, it was by far the best Geminass you could get. Period. And even today, it's still pretty cool. The proportions are absolutely badass. Some points of articulation can even outshine Bandai kits, and its overall quality is roughly comparable to a 2000s Bandai high grade. So yeah, I would have wholeheartedly recommended it to anyone looking for a Geminass, if it hadn't been for the new Geminass kit that just got announced. So you might want to save your money instead and wait a bit longer. Although, to be perfectly honest, I kinda prefer the proportions of the Dragon Momoko kit. But on to some size comparisons now. First of all, here he is next to the bulky Asclepius and Greep, and next to these guys, he doesn't look all that big. But when we put him next to the Bandai Geminass Unit 1 and the Heavy Arms, yeah, he's a bit too tall. Even though the Geminass is supposed to be slightly bigger than the Heavy Arms, the difference isn't that big. Then here is next to some modern Gundam wing kits, the Wing and the Sandrock. And finally, here he is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. He might be big for a wing kit, but he's definitely no match for the Zaku 3. And that's all for this review. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope all of you watching have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.